Billy Luna.
Joey says that John Gotti Jr. is 1000% a rat. Joey touches on the story of Sammy killing the 16-year-old innocent kid, and I'm going to tell you the 100% true story of this right now. One of the murders that Sammy the Bull Gravano confessed to was the brutal slaying of a 16-year-old high school student named Alan Kaiser. Joey goes on to say that John Gotti Jr. actually told on his own father.
Billy Luna.
This is going to be a total reaction breakdown to Skinny Joey Merlino's Patreon. Now, he has not only doubled down on calling John Gotti Jr. a rat, he's not tripled down on calling John Gotti Jr. a rat. He has gone tenfold. Joey says that John Gotti Jr. is 100% a rat. Then he says, well, strike that. John Gotti Jr. is 1000% a rat.
Please subscribe to the Billy Luna channel and like the video. Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to all this, okay? I'm going to open up. I'm going to tell you a little bit, just briefly, about the other things that Joey talked about on his Patreon. And, then we're going to get to this, and we're going to do a deep dive into this. So we open up, Joey and Lil Snuff talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, the NBA playoffs. Joey tells a story. Joey shares an interesting story about beating a sports talk radio softball team with $30,000 on the line. And he also talks about it. He's going to get into a friend of his named Haas, who actually built a jail cell in his house. And so Haas came to visit Joey in Philly, and Joey got them front row seats to see the Philadelphia Flyers. So in the middle of the game, this exciting game, front row seats, blinged out, front row Joe, you know how he gets down. This guy Haas says to Joey, let's go out for steak. And Joey's like, what? Let's go out for steak. We're here. We're at the game. I got front row seats, front row Joe. What are you talking about? And he's like, okay, you're my guest. What the guest wants, we do it. So they go out to a steak place. And so Haas, Joey's friend Haas, proceeds to order every single item on the menu. And then he doesn't eat any of it. So later in the night, Joey and Haas drive around Philly passing out all of that fine food to homeless people. So Joey talks about the state of the Philadelphia 76ers. Then Joey goes on to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies. Joey and Snuff talk about how the Phillies are the hottest team in baseball. Joey tells another little softball story of playing softball in the 1980s at 8th and Mifflin in South Philly. They were playing a 7-game series for $25,000 a game. And Joey goes on to claim that he was the only one who was a professional athlete because he was a jockey when he was a kid. So back to Joey's friend Haas, Martin Haas. Joey said the guy's real tight with him. From Joey characterizes it as from womb to the tomb. Joey says that Haas always asks the funniest questions. So Joey got out of prison and went to visit Haas at his house. And Haas asked Joey, when was the last time you cried? And Joey said that when he went to see the movie Lepke and they gave him the electric chair. What Joey is talking about is the movie Lepke from 1975, starring Tony Curtis as the Jewish American gangster Louis Lepke Bullkalter. Lepke was the epitome of a stand-up guy taking it all the way to the electric chair. Another famous Joey is a guy named Crazy Joey Gallo from New York. And Crazy Joey Gallo had a little dog, and the name of his dog was Lepke. So there's a lot of respect and reverence among stand-up guys for Louis Lepke Bullkalter because he was the ultimate stand-up guy. I mean, you think about like stand-up guys being subjected to life in prison, dealing with prison. This guy took it to his death. Joey goes on to ask the question, is John Gotti Jr. a rat? Joey says that he is 100% a rat. Nope, he doesn't double down. Then he doesn't triple down. He goes tenfold. Joey says that John Gotti Jr. is 1000% a rat. Joey goes on to say that a rat is the lowest form of life. It's the worst thing that a man can be called. Joey goes on to explain John Gotti Jr. He sat down with the FBI and his lawyers in what is called a proffer session, or sometimes referred to as Queen for a Day. Joey kind of explains what these things are. What it is basically you sit down with the government and you get limited immunity, and then you just talk, and you can tell them a bunch of stuff, and then you're kind of immune to it. And so then there's a 302. A 302 is the evidence of it. A 302 is basically the FBI documentation of this session when they sit down with someone giving them information. Joey points out that John Gotti Jr. implicated 32 people in crimes in his proffer session with the FBI. Joey states that this includes Danny Merlino, a Gambino soldier, capo, and one-time boss. What Joey's accusing John Gotti Jr. of is nothing new. Many people have pointed this out over the last 15 years. But, the fact that Joey is such a mercurial rising star that when he states something on his platform, on his Patreon, it drags it into the light and then thrusts it into the conversation. So that's where we are right now. Joey says the fact that Junior Gotti sat down with the FBI and gave information on more than 32 people. Joey said that Junior's poor father, John Gotti Sr., must be rolling in his grave. Joey goes on to talk about how John Gotti Sr. was such a stand-up guy. He wouldn't say a word. Joey tells a story about how John Gotti Sr. was chained to his bed, dying of cancer for 9 years. If all he had to do was sign a paper that said he was in the mob and that he was boss of the Gambino family, and they would unshackle him and let him be more comfortable. But he was such a man. He just would not say a word, to the point that he just basically was just being tortured, shackled to a gurney, rotting away from cancer. And Joey basically goes on to say that John Gotti Sr., he has the most respect for him, and he is the epitome of a stand-up guy. Joey goes on to say that John Gotti Jr. actually told on his own father, because he told on the lawyer, Jojo Carrazzo, that was giving messages to John Gotti Sr. Joey shows a little bit of a 60-minute piece. In the 60-minute piece, John Gotti Jr. told on his father basically by saying that the lawyer Carrazzo was bringing his father messages. Joey goes on to show his 302s. And once again, the 302 is the memo generated by the FBI when someone sits down and gives them information. So, I'm not going to get too into this because Joey gets very into it. But if you want to really study this, just Google it. It'll just pop right up and you can read the FBI 302 from Junior Gotti's proffer. Joey says there's no partial rats. You're either a rat or you're not a rat. You either rat or you don't rat. He kind of likens it to saying you're never half pregnant. And Joey goes on to say that, Junior Gotti snitched on Danny Merlino. He snitched on Joe Watts. And Joey, is really upset with the fact that he says Junior Gotti snitched on his own father, John Gotti Sr. Joey goes on to talk about Jeff Canarsie a little bit again. He had kind of outed him as having cooperated with the police a long time ago. Joey goes to talk about Sammy the Bull a little bit more. He, touches on the story of Sammy killing the 16-year-old innocent kid. The 16-year-old child that Skinny Joey Merlino is referring to, the name of the child is Alan Kaiser. And I'm going to tell you the 100% true story of this right now. One of the murders that Sammy the Bull Gravano confessed to, and that he served a measly 3 months in prison for, was the brutal slaying of a 16-year-old high school student named Alan Kaiser. Alan Kaiser was a Boy Scout and a painter whose artwork hung in the Brooklyn Museum of Art. Alan Kaiser was innocently walking his girlfriend home when the children had the misfortune of witnessing Sammy the Bull Gravano and his goon, Louis Melito, committing a drive-by shooting against an outlaw biker. Sammy would disgustingly say in a 2019 video that Alan Kaiser was quote-unquote high and ran at the armed gangsters as they committed the drive-by. In his book, Sammy implied that Alan Kaiser was a friend of the target of Sammy the Bull's drive-by shooting. These are all bold-faced lies that slander a child whom Sammy the Bull Gravano murdered in cold blood. And as for Louis Melito, with whom Sammy participated in the killing of the innocent child, Alan Kaiser, Sammy would have his good friend, Louis Merlino, killed years later. 16-year-old Alan Kaiser was cowardly shot in the back of the head, murdered in cold blood, because he was an innocent bystander to a drive-by shooting that Sammy the Bull was participating in. Sammy the Bull is a pretty glamorous and honorable gangster, huh? Joey goes on to say he's got many more revelations about Sammy, and Joey kind of intimates that Sammy is gay. Joey talks about how John Gotti Jr. himself admitted that meeting with the feds was a moment of quote-unquote weakness. Here's a little article. Like I said, this stuff has been around for years and years. And here's a little article from the New York Daily News in 2008 talking about this situation with this guy, Louis Kasman, who was he testified against John Gotti Jr. And he was a guy who was, I guess, supposedly John Gotti's quote-unquote adopted son. I'll read a little bit of this to you. Mafia boss John Gotti went to his grave hating his oldest son, Junior, a mob snitch, claims in secretly recorded conversations with close confidants of the Dapper Don. Louis Kasman, known as Gotti's adopted son, trashes John A. Jr. Gotti on the tapes and says the mob prince was despised by his infamous dad. He died hating that kid. You know that? Kasman told reputed Gambino consigliere Joseph Jojo Corazzo in an October 2005 conversation. Kasman was a key turncoat witness against Junior, and Kasman taped several conversations with high-ranking Gambino gangsters. He's nothing like his father, Kasman rants to reputed Gambino capo Daniel Merlino in April 2006. Now, I want to know what you all think about all of this, okay? So you have John Gotti Jr. and you have Skinny Joey Merlino coming out and calling him a rat. Like I said, this thing has been around for years. I mean, I would say the first person to break this was the journalist Jerry Capisci back in the day. Then many other journalists did. Then you have Louis Kasman, and then you have John Alight's book written by George Anastasia. And, they really, really broke this down and detailed it. And, George Anastasia is a little bit of a controversial figure. I think in some senses, I don't think Joey really likes him that much, but I mean, he is a regarded journalist, and, the things that he writes are vetted. And so he had broken this all down. So, but the thing about Joey is that Joey is, he is the hottest rising star in the mob genre. So even this story that is very, very old, when Joey breaks this on his Patreon channel, he kind of drags this into the light, and then it is thrust into the whole conversation of this, whatever mob tube or whatever you want to call it. I call it the Dorkiverse or the Rativerse, but whatever. So, now that's what's happening now, because the lines are drawn. I mean, you have on one side, seemingly on one side of this thing, you can look at it two different ways. You have Junior Gotti on one side and John Gotti Sr. on the other, and Joey's making his comment. But what you have now is when it's argued in the modern context of the YouTube channels and stuff, you have Angel Gotti, who is John Gotti's daughter, and she is, the biggest proponent of, John Gotti, and seemingly kind of represents the Gotti family, even though, her father passed away. John Gotti can't make a comment on this. He passed away a while ago. But you have Angel Gotti, who, she is very upset with Skinny Joey Merlino for doing this. And then she's upset with some other people too for kind of perpetrating this, some YouTubers who have kind of put forth this proposition. And she has, fought tooth and nail against it. And so, the lines are drawn, and she's got a bunch of people on her side. And I know that, she has canceled her Joey Merlino Patreon. She was there. And, because some people have gone on to say that further Joey was a little bit disrespectful of Angel. And, in addition to slandering, John Gotti Jr., well, slandering, if it's true or not, it's saying bad things about him. But, the thing about Joey is I think a lot of people warned him some people, not a lot of people, some people said, look, don't go against Angel Gotti, because Joey is the hottest mercurial rising star in the genre. And even in terms of the algorithm, like Joey's stuff is on top right now. So you got that. However, the most popular name in the genre is the Gotti name. And it's John Gotti. I'm going to say John Gotti is the most popular mob star, basically in history, but definitely currently right now. And then, of course, you have Michael Franzese has the biggest channel in the genre. And, Joey doesn't care. Like, I think that maybe somebody warned Joey, don't go against Gotti, it'll hurt you. I don't personally think it's going to hurt Joey at all. But, Joey doesn't care. And that's evidenced by the fact that Michael Franzese came out to Joey when Joey first came to YouTube, and Michael, with the biggest channel, said, I'd like to have you on my channel, I'd be on your channel, let's be friends, let's make connections. And Joey's response to Michael was, I don't entertain lying rats. And he basically just slapped Michael in the face. Now, of course, Joey went on further to kind of say some bad things about Michael's adopted father, Sonny Franzese, which, I wouldn't have done. But, because, Sonny Franzese, you think about it, like guys like Sonny Franzese, John Gotti Sr., Skinny Joey Merlino, they are kind of cut from the same cloth. They're real stand-up guys, and I personally wouldn't have gone against Sonny. I mean, God knows, like maybe a little misstep Sonny made. I mean, the guy was 103 years old. I mean, Sonny was such a tough guy and such a stand-up guy. I wouldn't have done that. But anyway, it just goes to show that Joey doesn't care. Like, going on Michael's show and like buddying up with Michael Franzese would have been a good move for Joey in terms of building his channel. But Joey is pure form. He is like a hardcore old school guy. He's pure form. He does not like rats. And the same thing with Sammy the Bull. Sammy came out and it's like, oh, I'd like to have him on my show. And, Joey's response was similarly just slapping Sammy down. And, with Michael, also Michael then had like a lawyer of Michael's reached out to Joey asking him on a show. And then Michael came out and said, he's not really my lawyer. And, this and that. Some YouTubers have kind of caught Michael in that lie. And so basically Michael really kind of came out like for Joey, and Joey just smacked him down. And then Michael made a video like, kind of saying, you're Joey Merlino, you don't have a class and you're not. Michael kind of twisted it to just focus on what Joey said about his dad, which I think was wrong. But he said, he said to Joey, he said, you're not fit to shine my father's shoes on his worst day. Anyway, I think Joey doesn't care. And you have him now kind of going up against you could call it the Gotti contingent, which is led by Angel Gotti with her YouTube channel and her Patreon. And then she's got some people in her camp behind her. So they're very upset with Joey, and I don't think it's really going to affect Joey one way or another. I mean, you get a lot of battles in this genre where somebody's like, I'm going to destroy you and you're going to lose, we're going to out this person as a rat, or we're going to do this and we're going to do that. I don't know. As I've studied this, I don't ever see anybody really being affected by it. I mean, of course, Joey came out against Jeff Canarsie recently. I don't think Jeff Canarsie was affected by it. And like Angel Gotti coming out against Skinny Joey Merlino, I mean, maybe he'll lose, 2 or 3 Patreon subscribers, but I don't see beyond that anything that's going to really affect him. But what I want to know is what you all think about this situation. Where do you stand? Do you think Joey's right here? Do you think, or do you go with like the Angel Gotti? And which side are you on this? What do you think? And if you do have an opinion, have you studied it? Have you done the due diligence? Have you read the 302s? And if you do, I want to hear your opinions, but I also want I want you to do a little bit, I want to hear more of a deep dive from you. And I want to hear the evidence to support your opinion. Don't just, that's what I'd prefer. You can go ahead and just state your opinion and say, I'm team Joey. I'm team Angel Gotti, or whatever you want to say like that. But what I would really prefer you do is break down the evidence as to why. And I want to create a discourse on this. I want people to, go back and forth. I want to hear the whole thing. This is what I love about this. Okay. I love the crossfire. I love the point versus point. And that's what I want to hear from all of you.
Billy Luna.
Please subscribe to the Billy Luna channel and like the video. Thank you.